On September 30th, 1937, the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown CV-5 was commissioned. The USS Yorktown was built to strengthen the United States naval fleet. Outfitted with a large collection of weaponry to fight off airstrikes and housing 90 various fighting aircraft, the USS Yorktown was the head of a 3-ship Yorktown carrier fleet and the flagship of Task Force 17. Named after the Battle of Yorktown, which marked the end of the Revolutionary War and signaled independence for the United States against Great Britain, the USS Yorktown aircraft carrier would continue the legacy of taking a stand against America's enemies by fighting against the Japanese during World War II. The USS Yorktown will be instrumental in the first United States victory against Japan at the Battle of Coral Sea. Although the USS Yorktown would later be bombed and sank during the Battle of Midway, the USS Yorktown CV-10 would be commissioned in 1943 and rise to continue the legacy and name of the Yorktown. Known as the Fighting Lady, the USS Yorktown CV-10 would continue to take a stand against America's enemies in the fight in the Pacific during World War II, patrol the waters during the Korean conflict, play a strategic role in the Vietnam War, and also play a small part in the NASA space missions.
The USS Yorktown CV-5 was ready to take a stand against America's enemies when the United States declared war on Japan on December 8, 1941. 2 years earlier, on September 1, 1939, Adolf Hitler invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. Ignoring the Treaty of Versailles, Hitler and the Nazis would proceed to take over Poland, Czechoslovakia, Norway, and Belgium, fighting against the Allied powers of Great Britain, France, Australia, and New Zealand. The United States wanted to stay out of the war, but on December 7, 1941, Japan, the Nazis' ally, would attack United States naval base located at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The Japanese would successfully bomb Pearl Harbor and sink 4 battleships, kill almost 2,500 men, and destroy 190 military aircraft. The next day, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt would declare war on Japan. 4 days later, the United States would also declare war on Germany and the Nazis.
One of the biggest battles in 1942 was the Battle of Coral Sea, which was located off the coast of Australia. The Battle of Coral Sea was a hard-fought battle between the Japanese and the Americans, with the United States coming out on top. It was the first carrier versus carrier battle and showed the might of the United States aircraft carrier fleet. However, while in the heat of this battle, the USS Yorktown was severely damaged and needed repairs. These repairs would take 3 months to complete, but the USS Yorktown was needed back for battle within 3 days. The USS Yorktown was immediately sent back to war to participate in the Battle of Midway. This battle would prove pivotal in the War of the Pacific and would be the first time anyone had taken a stand against the full force of the Japanese military. On the morning of June 3, 1942, a scout bomber saw a small Japanese fleet off the coast of Alaska. The pilot of the scout bomber informed the Navy, but the commanders told everyone to stand down because it was diversion. They knew this because the U.S. codebreakers had intercepted a message saying that the real attack was going to be on the island of Midway. The next morning, a scout plane saw the Japanese main fleet headed for Midway. They immediately sent Task Force 17 to ambush the Japanese. While the Japanese were bombing the island of Midway, the American bombers and torpedo planes went out to sink the Japanese fleet. Having sank 3 of Japan's aircraft carriers, the United States thought it was a complete success until the Japanese bombers followed the U.S. planes all the way back to the U.S. fleet.
And so their dive bombers got there first. They're much faster than a torpedo plane. And they dropped a bomb down the stack. And they dropped that bomb on the elevator where I got the shrapnel and all that. So anyway, we stopped, cold stone dead in the water, put out the fires in the fire room. And we were stopped for about an hour when their torpedo planes came. And I remember seeing planes raining out there, smoking out on the horizon. Our fighters had intercepted them. So we thought maybe we were going to get away from it and not get hurt. But 5 of their torpedo planes attacked us on our port quarter.
Sadly, the USS Yorktown CV-5 was crippled and eventually sank. The USS Yorktown CV-5 gave all she could in taking a stand against her enemies and paid with her life. After the USS Yorktown CV-5 sank, the United States launched a counterattack to sink the final Japanese aircraft carrier at Midway, and to avenge the loss of the USS Yorktown CV-5. The U.S. was successful in sinking Japan's last remaining aircraft carrier at Midway. The Battle of Midway was a significant victory for the United States, with the USS Yorktown CV-5 playing an important part. Winning this battle gave unmatched power to the United States in the Pacific. The United States was then able to take a stand against Japan and take back as many of the Pacific islands that Japan had tried to invade. These islands were where the Japanese got many natural resources such as fuel, rubber, and food to keep the Japanese war machine alive. Liberating these islands gave the United States Air Force a place to land and refuel their planes on the way to bomb Japan. One of these planes was the B-29, as known as the Enola Gay, which would drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. This would end the war against Japan.
Before the end of the war, the United States would commission a new aircraft carrier, which they would name the USS Yorktown CV-10 in honor of the USS Yorktown CV-5 lost during the Battle of Midway. The USS Yorktown CV-10 would go on to take a stand against America's enemies by continuing to fight in the Pacific during World War II, standing with the Pacific Fleet in a show of force against Japan. After the end of World War II, the USS Yorktown was decommissioned for a time, and then, in the 1950s, the aircraft carrier was modernized to operate jet aircraft as an attack carrier CVA. Placed back into active commission in 1952, the USS Yorktown CVA was sent into the Pacific in response of the Korean War. Although the USS Yorktown did not see any combat during this time, it was used in various deployments throughout Pacific waters. In 1955, the USS Yorktown was once again placed in reserve status and modernized again. This time, the USS Yorktown will be reclassified as an anti-submarine warfare carrier as the USS Yorktown CVS-10. In 1964, the USS Yorktown CVS-10 would be officially launched into the Vietnam, where she would serve until 1968. Ending her role in combat, the USS Yorktown CVS-10 would go on to aid in the recovery of the Apollo 8 space capsule in 1968. Finally, after 33 years of service, earning 17 medals, 11 battle stars, the USS Yorktown would be decommissioned on June 27, 1970 for the final time. The USS Yorktown CVS-10 now rests in Patriots Point, South Carolina, just south of Charleston Harbor. Without the strength and courage of the USS Yorktown and its crew, the United States Navy would not have been as effective fighting against her enemies. It is with true honor that the USS Yorktown took a stand against her enemies.